Welcome to Duckponics. I just wanted to explain what's going on in some of these frames. So these are everything that you're going to see here today is brand new experiments based on a bunch of stuff I've learned over the last 20 years. Actually had these soil blockers for 10 years and never used the tool. Need to do some more experimenting with soils. And all of these were germinated on what they call water crystals. You can buy these online, water polymer crystals. They come in different sizes. That was a new experiment. And we see some of the water crystals in here. The interesting thing about the water crystals is they're not a nutrient, they're just a wetting agent. And so they don't get disease and infections like agar or some other, almost any other kind of media would. So still doing some experiments with that. Looks like we have a few alder trees starting to sprout in here. This is probably not the ideal environment, and we'll probably end up completely passing on this, but I'm gonna do some more experiments. So some of the things lived, and some of them kind of like half did. Like why is this guy sitting there so small now? And there's a couple others that got kind of buried, like these guys. One of the things that happened in the water polymer crystals is that they basically sprouted without roots, because they weren't doing well. All of this has been replanted. It was replanted yesterday with some brazing mix, some more better beta chard, so and some more blue kale. There's some. I really like this blue kale, so I planted a bunch more of that. So within the next few days, this will all start to sprout and grow again. The soil I was using wasn't very conducive to these little tiny soil blocks that are supposed to fit in the top of these big ones if you have the right dibble. But I did throw some of this critter lettuce mix, which is just a weird compilation of all the genetic material that Frank Morton has down in his breeding program near Corvallis, or is it Philomath? This is some more of his Russian kale, or this is some of the another kale critter mix. What we're looking at here is mostly Russian kales. And then this was just another thing that I'm trying. The soil that's in here, and what I use to top off the seed planting in here, is this soil that came out of my pumice beds that are the filter beds for the aquaponics, quote unquote, duckponics. And this soil is about 50% pumice. It has all kinds of stuff living in it normally. Anyway, this was just scattering seed on top of about an inch of this pumice soil, and then just watering it in. And that was about 5 days ago. You can see all the different little lettuces come up. I completely forget what I planted here in the middle, and then some more of this kale. One of the things we're gonna try here is microgreens, and we're just trying to see what of the seed we already have will sprout, so we don't have to go buy a bunch of stuff. These are some beans, or some field peas that we got from an Italian seed company. They're pretty old. This is not an optimum way to be sprouting these. We have some chia, or maybe this is the chia. This is probably a mustard. The plants get a little leggy when they're sitting under these moisture domes. I'm going to take those off now since they're well sprouted and they have roots. This is a whole tray of that lettuce, and it's just going to have, I wanted to see as many colors as possible. And so these trays are special trays for microgreens, and how most microgreens are made is they're crammed into rather shallow trays, and then they just slice it off, and then they throw the whole thing out. And because these are divided into cells kind of that are each of these channels goes down to an angle, you're using about half or less than half as much compost as you normally would for a microgreen operation. So that's kind of a cool thing. But I'm pretty good at picking these out, and we'll be putting these outside as soon as they get, well, before they get that big. This is less than 10 days old, and this kale has just exploded. These guys are doing pretty good too, but clearly this kale is just a very superior breed, and we'll plan on keeping this alive. And we got some more microgreens here. If we don't see any green here, it looks like we don't. We have got 2 pounds of collard seed that is not viable, so that will be going in the trash. Anyway, just wanted to let people know what's going on here at Duckponics. Things are growing and getting green, and the green's getting big. Duckponics out.